My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing Matters, and today I have with me Laurie Maher. So Laurie is a complex trauma survivor who has spent her life learning about and working on healing. She helps others understand the effects of trauma and partners with clients as they walk on their path to healing. She has a multi-pronged approach to healing, which we are going to hear all about today. So a big welcome to the show, Laurie. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much, Catherine. I appreciate it.
So it depends how much you want to share, but what kind of inspired you, I guess, to want to change how trauma was, influencing your life and, set you on that healing journey?
Yes. Well, let me see how I can make this brief.
That's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. It's been a lifelong journey, right? I'm a complex, as you mentioned, a complex trauma survivor. So I suffered sexual abuse when I was 7. I'll just jump right into it.
Yeah.
It obviously caused a lot of anxiety and after effects in my life, right? So, many people out there who have suffered trauma, whether it's abuse and neglect, some kind of big T or little t, depending on what happens in people's lives, typically we adapt to these coping mechanisms that help us survive, right? That help us get through our lives. And so, a lot of things that happened to me or the after effects, I should say, were anxiety, panic disorder, extreme fatigue, and I would say those probably were the top 3.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went along my life and wasn't really aware of how dysregulated I was. I had no idea I was living with anxiety as badly as I was, until it all came to a head, in my 20s. And ultimately I ended up getting Epstein-Barr virus and then was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome when I was 30. And at that point, everything kind of came to a halt. I was unable to work. I was pretty much bedridden, and no one knew what to do. Doctors had no idea what to do to help me. So it was very scary, and so what other choice did I have but to figure it out myself?
Yeah.
So I started learning. So I kind of, went about it a little bit differently than most people, I think, where it was more of like a somatic approach for me in the beginning. So I want to back up a little bit. So I have an undergrad in psychology and was going to be a therapist and going down that road for whatever reason, but kind of am coming full circle now. But I have been to, years and years and years of therapy, and that didn't really help either, right?
Yeah.
So when I ended up with that diagnosis, chronic fatigue syndrome, I looked into more of energy medicine. I looked into yoga, and I ended up finding an acupuncture therapist at the time who was the only person that literally said to me, "I think I can help you."
Yeah.
And so what do you do with that? You do whatever they recommend.
100%. 100%. It's like everyone's telling you we can't do anything. Yeah, I'm going to come with you then.
Yeah. Sign me up for whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I started practicing yoga. I went to her for energy work, which was acupuncture therapy and Reiki at the time.
Yeah.
And it took about maybe, 8 or 9 months, and I started to feel like myself again. I would probably say I had about 75% of my energy back. And so at that point, I thought, okay, well, I need to know what this is. I need to know how, what is going on. So that's when I decided I enrolled in the Acupuncture Therapy Institute.
Yeah.
And got my Reiki Masters, and it just went from there. And since then, that was 20 plus years ago, I have been a consistent student. Like, all I do is just study and learn and practice, and I'm blessed to be able to help people full time with all sorts of healing.
Yeah. And I find it really interesting that because you were pushing down that trauma that happened to you when you were 7, and it was never really dealt with properly, how, it's such a potent example of when you ignore those feelings and you ignore the extremeness of that, how it ended up at the tragedy of you were bedridden. And a lot of people don't understand that it's those emotions and feelings that then get trapped in our body, which is what creates the symptoms. And I love that you felt, almost, I saw this image of you going, well, I can't move, so the opposite I need to do is find a way to move, so why you would possibly pull to that somatic experiences and finding ways to move your body again because you were told you couldn't, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's a really great point, because I talk about this every day with my clients, is that emotions get stuck in your tissues, right?
Yeah.
They are in our bodies at a cellular level, in our energy centers, whatever you may believe in, whether it's, Chinese medicine, or we're talking about the chakras, or, light centers, or vibrationally. It's stuck in there. And so, when survivors get triggered, that is a core wound that is being, awakened, if you will, right? It's this core wound that is being brought up. And when you get to a point, when you start to have these emotions that you can't push down anymore, right? When these emotions start to overflow, that's when people, have to deal with things.
Agreed.
It's right there. That the body is like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore.
Exactly. And it is, but it is to that point, exactly like you said, it's when we get to that extremes, then we go, oh, crap. Like this is, I've been ignoring something, and it's often those cases too that the Western models don't know how to treat them rather than just treating the symptoms, but they don't know how to go deeper because that's just how that's designed, and that's where I found a lot of people I've worked with too will then go searching for alternative healing practices or alternative ways to get their body moving again, get their body working again, because, a lot of the time it's unlayering everything, all the shields we've put up, all the walls we've put up, and actually just feeling it again can be such a traumatic journey in itself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I find too that, the key is also in self-awareness, right? So, in pushing all of these emotions down, I think in general, people just try to avoid it. It's a very avoidant kind of attachment kind of thing, where we don't want to acknowledge that this thing really was as bad as it was, right?
Yeah.
and it's maybe too scary, and it's too painful. So it's, we try to avoid it. So I think, it's those practices of truly connecting to yourself and getting into your body and being present and, being in the moment that allows for us to be able to cultivate more of that self-awareness and level of consciousness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I 100% agree, because it's when you start to listen to your own body and actually be aware of what's happening that you can actually, as well as you've come from a healing point, and you're in a, like you said, you got to the 75% level and you're like, right, I need to know more, because it's at that state where you feel like yourself again that you can do the most powerful healing and journeys. It's not when you're in a state of survival and crisis. It's when you're actually in that, okay, I feel like myself. How can I make sure I don't get back there? And how can I better it so that never really, if it does come up again, I've got the tools and the ability to actually address it.
Absolutely. And, I'm still learning, right? Every day.
Yeah.
I'm learning something new that can help, how I feel every single day. So it's a journey, and I think, people that walk in my door are people who are really ready to do the work.
Yeah.
And are ready to dive in, because, as you know, I think, this is hard work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. 100%. But I haven't met anyone that has said to me, as hard as the journey was, I regret taking it. And I remember I met this person and we used to go to this vegan cafe a lot because their food was amazing. But there was this person there, and I said, you look really good. And she's like, oh, I've actually just gone through a divorce and, got through the custody issues and da-da-da. And she goes, if I knew how hard it was when I started, I never would have done it. But she goes, I do not regret it for a second, because I love my life so much more now.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because that's how I think of it. Like, learn to love the life you're living, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's what it's about. And what, it's like, I talk a lot about suffering too. Like, what is suffering? Well, suffering is kind of fighting up against what is.
Yeah.
Right? So, absolutely. No, that's a great story. So, yeah. So, I'm so blessed to be able to do this work. I absolutely love it. And I think that, there's a few different ways I approach it, as far as healing goes. So I started doing this work like full time about, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago now. Yeah. Before that, I had a different life in corporate, and that was a whole other thing. But I finally, listened to my intuition and said, no, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing this healing work. So, anyways, there are many different ways I approach this with clients, and one is what I call trauma recovery coaching. So I did get a certification, which basically also really helped me heal on a much deeper level, because I got this education, specifically just a trauma education. It was like a year program. And so I think when survivors learn more about what trauma is and understand the effects of trauma, it's like, oh, well, there isn't anything wrong with me. Like, this is what happens to people. Right? And it normalizes it. And, I think it's so important for people to work, to have such a close collaboration with, their coach, because there really needs to be a level of attunement there. There needs to be this compassion and respect, and it's I'm just partnering with someone and helping them along the way.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
so there's that piece, which is the coaching, and then there's also the body work. So I bring in acupressure therapy. I do Reiki, and also I'm doing a vibrational system called Love Light healing. And that helps to move the energy and to help the client sort of reintegrate the experiences in a different way. And then I also help them, obviously build their toolkit, their self-care toolkit, and understand, what can help when they are feeling dysregulated and how to manage their nervous system. That's a huge piece.
Yeah.
And one way that I help them as well is I teach yoga as well. So my yoga is more of a learn how to move your energy yoga. And so it's all those pieces that I bring together for clients.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people probably don't realize, but yoga can be really powerful just sitting in a position to open up, different energy pathways, meridian lines, and that sort of thing, and the release that can come from that, just like sitting in that position, especially within yoga, like just, sitting there. And you feel like you're not doing anything, but then you get up and you're like, oh my goodness, like I just sat in that position for however many minutes and felt like I wasn't doing anything, and all of a sudden I want to cry like hysterically, and you just have to let it happen because you've allowed that energy to flow so it can come out in a way that your body can release it.
I just love that you said that. So I, meditating or breath work, right? Breath work is very powerful.
Agreed, yeah.
I've been trained. Have you heard of restorative yoga?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been trained in restorative yoga, and it's like my favorite thing to do. Basically, you get like as many props as you can possibly get. Like a couple of bolsters, like 6 to 10 blankets, blocks, pillows, whatever. And I set clients up in these postures where you're literally just held, where you have all of the joints supported. You're in different postures. So, for example, one of my favorites is reclined supported pose, where basically the bolsters at an incline, and you just bring your back up against the bolster, and then you have your knees over a bolster, right? Your feet are supported, your hands, your arms, everything is supported by pillows. And you almost get to a point where you feel like you're floating. It's just a very peaceful experience. And so what that does is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, all yoga, typically will do that unless you're specifically like, working hard and trying to activate your sympathetic nervous system. But this is a very deep level of activating the rest of the chest. And talk about like just doing nothing, right? So I do teach that, and it's like my favorite thing to practice.
And it's funny because we've been so conditioned by society and culture and family beliefs and everything that you have to work really hard to get these results. But sometimes the best thing you can do is surrender and let your body know and let your body know that it's okay, we can stop running now and we can just relax, and then take you out of that fight and flight and freeze mode, and that is when you start to get the magic happening, right?
Oh my gosh, such magic. And I have to really mention as well, because, I've been working on this stuff forever, it feels like. And someone said to me the other day, one of my mentors said to me, so how often do you sit down and like at your meal and just eat, right? And really pay attention to what you're eating, and, really enjoy every bite, and make sure you're chewing slowly and chewing a lot and the whole thing. And I'm like, I don't, maybe 25%, right? Because she's like, when you're not watching TV, you're not looking at your phone, you're not reading a book, just eating. And what she said was, you're actually activating your fight or flight even then, because your body's saying, well, am I eating, or am I reading, or am I watching TV, or am I talking on the phone? So we cannot slow down enough.
Great.
It's so important to look at your calendar and where can you say no today, right? What can you take off your calendar today? Because the kinder we are to ourselves and really listening to what we need is so important to our health and our nervous system.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up that point of looking at your calendar, because this is what happened. When I joined Podmatch, I didn't expect what would happen, and so all of a sudden my day was consumed by interviews, and I was like, I can't do this. So as soon as I got that feedback, but at first I was like, oh, this is great, and then I was like, no, this isn't great, and I had to pull back immensely and create 2 calendars, one for podcast interviews and one for actually doing my healing work and working with my coaching clients, and all these things that, I want to do. It's like, well, all right, what can I say no to? And just this morning I was on an interview and we were talking about boundaries, and boundaries is a weird word, but it's about, I say your standards and values, right? And your non-negotiables, and having and even honoring your word. So for example, I went to this meeting the other night and I said to them, I can only give you 2 hours of my time, because often these meetings I know blow out. And I was there for 2 hours and I left, and they hadn't even got to the main message. And I was like, the old me would have been like, oh, maybe I should stay. And I'm like, no, I made a promise to my little one that I was going to be home. And that's all the energy I had for that event. So I just left, and I didn't have the guilt. I didn't have the, oh, what will they think of me? I was like, no, stuff that. I told them I could give you this much time, and you had me for that much time. So, come back to me and come back to being really clear on, this is my no, and I'm, choosing myself so I can have some downtime as well.
What a beautiful thing. I mean, and again, as a recovering people pleaser,
I think we all are.
I would always, yes, right? And now, it's such a freeing feeling. It's freedom, right? And to your point, you said, no, I promised my little one that I would be home, right?
Yeah.
Well, also, it's like you said, though, it's a promise to yourself. You made a promise to yourself. This is the energy I have for this particular thing. And then that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And that's it. And how great is that?
I know. And it's so interesting, because years ago, I used to always run late to everything. And I actually said to my friend, it was like, he's my naturopath, and I got there and I said, I'm always late to everything. And he said the most simplest thing was like, why don't you just leave 5 minutes earlier? And I was like, yeah, why don't I just leave 5 minutes earlier? So I did, and I started being on time, if not early, to everything.
That's awesome. I have to tell you, I'm going to share too, that I used to be late as well.
Yeah.
And my godfather used to say this to me, and I will never forget. He used to say, Lori, if you are early, you're on time.
Yeah.
If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, don't even bother,
Yeah, it's such a business thing. And it's so funny you share that, because my coach shared that at our last group coaching session. And he said, I know this is the business mantra and things, but it's so true. You have to aim to be early. And, sometimes I get in the complacency oh, yeah, I'll be on time. And even
Life happens. You can't control everything. So even the other week, I was heading to meet a client, and I noticed the traffic had gotten worse. So I purposely left 10 minutes early. But because the traffic was even more horrific that day, I ended up still being 10 minutes late. I'm like, what? And it was just, and then the next week I was like, I am not being late today. Like I consciously was like, no, I'm going to leave even earlier. And then there was an accident and I couldn't even get there. So it was like, okay. But at the same time, that's where you just own life, right? Like you just go, okay, thank you, life. Clearly I wasn't meant to see that person today, or clearly like there was a delay for a reason. Or often when I get stuck in really bad traffic, I just say, I'm grateful I wasn't in that accident, or I'm grateful that wasn't me involved. Right. Because sometimes you don't know, like you don't know what would have happened if you did leave like a few minutes earlier or a few minutes later or whatever it might be. And you just got to trust there's a plan there too, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Oh, this is so fun talking to you.
Like, thank you, Laurie. I told you we would have fun. I promised Laurie that we would have fun in this interview after we had some technical glitches to get through on my end, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem. It's so fun to like talk to someone in Australia, like across the world, right? I'm over here near Boston.
That's it. And I guess that's like the magic of technology that we can all appreciate, right? We get to connect with people around the world now, but it's still nice in person. But I would take this as a happy second.
Absolutely. Oh.
So
I'm not sure what else. Yeah. I can share, but.
I was going to say, as we finish our time together, so that was perfect segue. So I asked the guests that come on the show if they could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Oh, if I could heal or change something in the world, I would raise the vibration of the human existence. Yeah. Is what I would do. I would help raise the vibration and just have more peace and love in the world.
Yeah, agree. And it seems so simple, and people are like, oh, but love is all encompassing, right? And lots of people forget that love is actually accepting the positive and the negative. And when you can come from that point of love, not the romantic love, actual love, then you can be at peace with yourself and with what's happening.
That's right. Yeah. That's very beautifully stated. Thank you.
And how can people come and find you, Laurie, if they want to come and work with you or check out what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my website is stateofgracewellness.com. I do remote work as well. I'm here in the Boston area, but I'm happy to, work with people all over the world. And I would love to hear from anyone who's looking for any help on their healing journey.
Beautiful. And are you on any social media channels at all, or are you hiding from that? Respect either way.
No, I'm on Instagram, State of Grace Yoga and Wellness, on Facebook, and Instagram, I believe, is State of Grace, and then it has my name, Laurie Maher, at the end.
Beautiful. I'll make sure to put all those details in the show notes as well. So anyone listening and driving, you do not have to write that down. You can just check it out later. And thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, Laurie. I always love where places go and where it evolves to. And I love that just, you being curious and wanting to know, first of all, for selfish reasons, because selfish is how we always start, right? What can I do to heal myself? Right. But then how you can then use that to serve others. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The view shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.